Over the weekend, I was able to sit with and think about those last 3 days of Holy Week, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and Resurrection Sunday. And have you ever thought about how they're like a glimpse into the entire story of redemption? Even our personal redemption stories, they're like a picture of what happens and what takes place. So in the Gospels, we see Jesus appearing to Mary in the garden where the empty tomb was, and he reveals himself to her because at first she thinks he's the gardener. And as I was reading these, it reminds me of another garden back in Genesis, the Garden of Eden, and a serpent sows seeds of doubt and death into a woman's heart, into Eve's heart. She passes the forbidden fruit to Adam and they partake, and the world spirals into sin and rebellion. And now we have here in this garden with the empty tomb, we have Jesus sowing seeds of life and resurrection into another woman's heart, and then commanding her to go and tell the others. And in this, I just see the reverse of the curse happening. It's happening, it's beginning, new beginnings are happening here. You know, the word Genesis means beginnings or beginning. And so here in this garden with the empty tomb, we see a new beginning. On Easter Sunday, we see Genesis again. We see the reverse of the curse, that God is making all things new. This just overwhelms me, because when we hear those words, He is risen on Easter Sunday, and we respond with He is risen indeed, our response is that truth sinking down into our hearts, so that when we face Easter Monday, we live in the reality that He is risen indeed. It's one thing for us to say He is risen. It's another thing for us to live like He is risen throughout the rest of the year, not just on Easter Sunday, but on Easter Monday and on Easter Tuesday and all throughout the year. So as I think about these last 3 days of Holy Week, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and Easter Sunday, and how they're like a mini sermon of the story of redemption, we place our faith and our hope and our trust in the finished work of Christ on the cross. That's Good Friday. And then in Holy Saturday, we rest. We rest in that finished work because Christ has done it. And then on Resurrection Sunday, we rejoice in the fact that Jesus was resurrected so that we would be resurrected. He defeated sin and death, and that He will one day come again to defeat it forever, because we do still struggle with sin in our lives. We do still experience death, but not an eternal death. And so the resurrection seals that promise for us. One of my favorite readings from Holy Saturday was Hebrews 4:10, and I encourage you to go read the entire chapter of Hebrews 4, but I'm going to read verse 10 to you right now, and it says this: "For whoever has entered God's rest has also rested from his works, as God did from His." This is such an encouragement to us as we live in that Holy Saturday. We have placed our faith and trust in Christ's finished work on the cross, and we rest in that finished work. We look forward, rejoicing in the fact that He has been resurrected from the dead, and that He will come again and resurrect our earthly bodies, and we will do away with sin and death forever. We rejoice in that, and we live in that holy rest. So as we enter into a new week, and Easter Sunday is behind us, may we allow that truth to ring in our hearts, that He is risen indeed, and that this will give us hope when we face trials, when we face sorrows, when we even face death. The hope that He is risen indeed, and that truth would seep down into our hearts every day of our lives.